Today, I'm going to be answering questions all about my health journey, everything from how I got started to the mindset shifts needed to the emotional aspects, nutrition, movement, everything. If you have more questions that aren't answered in this video, feel free to drop them in the comments. And here we go. Was there a specific moment or wake up call that pushed you to change? Yes, there was. In March 2022, I went to Disneyland with my sister's family, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my nephew, Lincoln, who was 3 at the time. And he is still my little best friend to this day. And being an aunt has been the greatest joy of my life. I was almost 400 pounds at the time, and I knew it was going to be a difficult day to try to go to a theme park at that size, but I didn't want to miss out on that experience with him. So I went to Disneyland, and within just a few hours, my body was feeling sore. I had a migraine. I was profusely sweating. My back hurt, my feet hurt. And by the end of the day, I had to miss out on so many of those experiences because I just didn't have the energy and endurance to be there for him. My body, I physically wasn't able to fit on some of the rides as well. And I went home that night just thinking, this is not how I want to live. I want to live a life where I can be present for my nephew, for the people in my life, for myself. And I don't want to miss out on things that I don't need to miss out on. So the next day, I started making small changes. And that's really how it went. This was the first time that I went into making changes where I didn't just overhaul everything and throw out all the food that people might call junk food and get a workout plan. I just started very small with one thing at a time. That leads me to my next question, which is how did you start and what were your first steps? My first steps, I chose 2 habits to start with, and one habit was eat one nutritious food a day. And like literally just one nutritious food a day. I was living off of fast food, highly processed frozen foods and snack foods. And so even just having one nutritious food a day was going to be something that was challenging for me because I was not making an effort to have nutritious foods before. So for me, I started with eggs. That was my thing. If I can have eggs every day, I know that I am getting nutrients in this food. Eggs are versatile, that you can cook them in so many different ways. They have protein, they have healthy fats. There's so much you can do with them, and it's easy. I wanted it to be easy, and eggs are one of the easiest foods that you can make and eat. So I started having eggs every day. I did not focus on taking food out of my diet. I didn't focus on restricting. I didn't cut out sugar or carbs or anything. I really just started with what can I add in to benefit myself? What can I add that will serve my body well? And then the next habit was movement. I wanted to move in some way every day. And I started with about 10 minutes of movement because that's all my body could do at the time. I was almost 400 pounds and it was hard for me to walk for 10 minutes, to do any kind of consecutive movement for 10 minutes. So I said, that's all I have to do. And that's where I started. I started with walking. I tried some different things along the way. I did some chair yoga. I eventually started swimming. I did some light body weight workouts at home through watching YouTube videos. And I just continued to build up my endurance from there. But it was very important to me to start adding in habits that were doable, that felt sustainable long term, so that I wouldn't want to give up, so that it wouldn't feel overwhelming, and so I wouldn't get easily discouraged. I needed some really easy goals that I could meet every day so that that could encourage me to keep going. How did you decide what to eat and how much? I decided that I wanted to eat as close to whole foods as I could. I knew that living off of highly processed foods was not serving me well, and so I really wanted to put an emphasis on whole foods. I had taken a course online from someone. She doesn't sell the course anymore, but it was a course about pro-metabolic eating, which is basically eating like our ancestors ate, focusing on whole foods, focusing on healthy animal products. And that's how I got started. I took that course to learn about it. I also learned a lot from my sister and my brother-in-law who had started their own health journey years before, because my brother-in-law was struggling with an autoimmune disease and he used food to heal that. So I learned a lot about their focus on whole foods, healthy animal products from them. I took the information while I was still not doing that and was like, okay, I'm learning, but I'm not ready to implement it. So when it was time to finally implement it, I at least had that knowledge. And so I knew that was the focus that I wanted to take. As far as how much, I started by just being mindful. I started writing in a food journal. So I didn't immediately begin tracking my calories. I just wanted to be more mindful of what I was eating. So I wrote down everything that I was eating from the very start. Like as soon as I was ready to start making changes, I started writing it down, which means that you see in my food journal, like it says eggs and grapes, and then it says potato chips and dip, or Teddy Grahams dipped in frosting, because I did not throw everything out. Like I kept the stuff that I had and I just focused on adding in nutritious foods. I did that for about 6 weeks, just like being mindful of what I was eating. And then I decided to start tracking my calories. When it comes to how many calories you should eat to lose weight, to be in a deficit, that is going to be different for every single person. I looked up a BMR calculator online. BMR stands for basal metabolic rate, and that is the amount of calories that your body burns at rest, doing absolutely nothing. If you were just to sit on the couch all day, your body burns this amount of calories. I didn't want to eat less than that, because that is the amount of calories that our body needs just to function properly, for our organs to function properly, our hormone health, our metabolism. All of those things are so important for being internally healthy. And I wanted to be internally healthy. I didn't want to just lose weight. I truly wanted to gain health. And so that means being healthy from the inside out. So you have your BMR, that's how many calories your body burns at rest. And that is individual to each person based on your height, your gender, your weight, your age, so many things. You can find a calculator online to see a general range of what works for you. And then from there, I added in active calories. I used an Apple Watch to track my calories throughout my journey, and that gave me an estimate of how many active calories I was burning. So if I burned 750 active calories, and that isn't just through intentional exercise movement, that's through anything you do throughout the day, washing dishes, taking a shower, just walking around your house, that is all burning calories. You are also burning calories from eating. Your body digesting food burns calories. So all of those things are burning more calories than your BMR on its own. Take all of that together, that's how many calories you are burning in a day, and you need to eat less than that in order to lose weight. So if my BMR was 1600 and I was burning 700 active calories throughout the day, that brings me to 2,300 calories that I'm burning in a day. And then I want to eat less than that if I want to lose weight. So how much less than that is up to you. You can go off of how you're feeling, how hungry you are. You can go off of what kind of goal you want to set for yourself, how quickly you might want to lose weight. I would recommend starting with a 300 to 500 calorie deficit. I did eventually go up to 1,000 calorie deficit, and that was mostly based off of how many active calories I started burning. Again, I never ate below my BMR. I wanted to stay as healthy internally as possible. So I would just burn more active calories and then make sure that I was eating less than that. And throughout most of my journey, I did end up in a 1,000 calorie deficit, and that is what helped me lose an average of 8 pounds a month throughout my journey. If you are wanting to find a good calorie deficit for you, if you want to learn about how to find your BMR, how to track calories, how I did it, the ins and outs of my whole journey, the mindset shifts, everything that worked for me to lose over 200 pounds naturally, I created a guide that has everything in it, the things that I'm sharing about here, but even more. It has meals, it has workouts, and I truly believe that this can help you get started or continue on your journey. And you can find that link and other links that I share throughout this video in the description. What was your calorie goal in the beginning? So my BMR when I first started my journey was over 1900 calories. That's how many calories my body was burning doing absolutely nothing. Adding in activity, I was burning a lot more, adding in just daily living. So I actually started my journey eating around 2600 to 2700 calories and was losing weight. That's how specific it is to each individual person based on your weight, your fat percentage, your muscle content. There are so many things that go into what your BMR is and what calories you can eat at consistently in order to lose weight. So I had to continuously bring that down as I was losing weight throughout my journey, because then my BMR would become lower. So as my BMR lowered, I did have to adjust my calorie deficit as well, but I was losing weight at over 2600 calories, and then I just continued to bring it down as I continued to lose weight. Again, this is going to be specific to each individual person, and I encourage you to look up a BMR calculator so that you can find a good starting point for you. Did you work with a nutritionist or a coach? When I started my journey, I did not work with a nutritionist or a coach. As I mentioned, I did take a course online where I learned a little bit about the type of eating that I wanted to be intentional with. And then I watched YouTube videos to learn how to do some body weight workouts at home. I did research. I listened to podcasts. That was mostly for like the mindset shifts needed. About 3 months into my journey, I went to a wellness retreat called Skyterra Wellness Retreat in Western North Carolina. And when I was there, that was the first time that I worked out with a personal trainer. They have a dietitian on staff that I was able to learn from, and I was able to just be in a community of other like-minded people who were on a similar journey, be somewhere where I could make getting healthy my full-time job. And I know this is absolutely a privilege. It's not something that everyone is able to do. I spent my savings on it because this was a big deal for me. I knew that I wanted to put some skin in the game because I was at a point where I had to change my life. And so going to this retreat and investing financially and time-wise and energy-wise into that was a big part of my journey so that I could just focus on me, 100% focus on my physical health and my health in all aspects. And I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to do that. It is not a necessity. You can absolutely lose weight and get healthier without going to a wellness retreat, but I am thankful that that was a part of my journey. Did you do it all naturally, or did you use medication or have surgery? I did lose my weight naturally. I did not have weight loss surgery, and I did not use any medication throughout my journey. I absolutely believe that everyone has to choose what they feel is the best and healthiest route for them. For me, I decided that I did want to lose this weight naturally, and I'm proud of that I did that, not because naturally is better than an alternative method, but because I chose a path and I stuck to it. And that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud that I followed through on what I felt like was best for me. I do believe everyone has to choose what they feel is best for them. If you decide that you want to pursue a natural route, I do think it's possible for you, and that's exactly why I started sharing online, because I wanted people to know that it is possible. I've heard from so many people that their doctors tell them, like, you won't be able to lose this weight unless you have weight loss surgery, or people who maybe want to try a medication, but they can't afford it and their insurance won't cover it. And so they realize, okay, the only way that I can do this is naturally, and they're wondering if it's possible. And so that's why I make it a point to say that I lost it naturally, not because I think that makes me better in any way, but so that people who feel like that's their only option can have hope that it is possible. What would you do differently if you had to start over? You are not gonna like this, but I would go slower. I lost 200 pounds in under 2 years. And it didn't feel fast. I know that sounds fast. It did not feel fast at the time. I wasn't trying to lose it as fast as I could. I truly was trying to lose it in a healthy way, in a sustainable way, because that is what matters so much more than how quickly you lose it. But I would go even slower if I could start over again. There really isn't anything else that I would change about my journey except the pace. I have people ask me how I kept healthy hair throughout the process. And I do think part of that is focusing on internal health. Like I mentioned, not eating below your BMR and trying to keep your hormone health, your metabolism as healthy as possible. I did eventually lose some hair about a year and a half into my journey because I had been in a calorie deficit every single day for a year and a half. I did not have any maintenance days. I didn't add any surplus days in there. Every day I was in a calorie deficit because I was just sticking to my plan and sticking to my goals. And I was feeling good and I was feeling happy and I felt capable of continuing to do that. However, that was just too long for my body to be in a deficit. And I did start losing hair at that point. It has mostly grown back since then. But if I could do it differently, I would have gone slower. I would have added in more maintenance days, having days where I was not in a deficit, and I would have even added in some surplus days, having a couple hundred calories over my maintenance calories. It would eventually even out throughout the week if I had some days where I was in a calorie deficit, some days where I was in a surplus, and then maybe have the week be at maintenance. And I think that would have been more beneficial for my internal health, and I probably wouldn't have ended up losing hair at all. So that's what I do differently. And I know that's not what you want to hear, because you probably want to hear what would I do differently to make it faster. And that's not what I do. I would not make it faster. I would make it slower for the sake of my health. What are the mindset shifts you made in order to make this change possible? This is my favorite question because that is what it's all about, is shifting your mindset. I mentioned briefly earlier about focusing on gaining health over losing weight. And that mindset shift is such an important one. Most of my life, I have been someone who writes New Year's resolutions. I am also someone who has been overweight and been obese for most of my life. And so on my New Year's resolutions, every year it said lose weight for as long as I can remember. And the year that I started this journey, even though I didn't start in January, I started in March, but in January 2022 was the first time that I wrote on my New Year's resolutions, gain health instead of lose weight. And that is where my mind started shifting, focusing on what's really important. And that's where it all began. Even though I didn't start making the changes then, I was preparing my mind to walk me through this process, focusing on health more than losing weight, focusing on gaining a bigger life more than just getting a smaller body. So that is one of the most important mindset shifts. Another one is letting go of all or nothing thinking, perfectionism. I used to be an all or nothing type of person, and I still am in some ways. However, when it comes to my health and weight loss journey, I am now an all or something person. In the past, if I couldn't do everything that I planned to do in a day, then I would do nothing. So if I was planning to get a workout in and eat 3 healthy meals a day, but then for breakfast, I actually drove through fast food instead of eating a healthier meal, then I would have just forgot about my workout for the day. I wouldn't have tried to eat healthy meals the rest of the day. I just would have said, well, if I can't do it all, I might as well do nothing. And that is just really, really silly to think that one choice that benefits us wouldn't be better than nothing that benefits us. It will always be the wiser decision to choose at least one thing that is going to serve you, even if the rest of the things in your day aren't serving you, even if you didn't make wise choices in the rest of your day. If you make one healthy choice, that is still benefiting you more than if you were to make no healthy choices at all. So getting rid of that all or nothing thinking and telling yourself, doing something towards my goals, doing something that benefits me, that serves me, is always going to be a better decision than doing nothing at all. Another mindset shift is I really had to accept that this was a lifestyle change. This was not a temporary diet that I was doing until I reached my goal. I was changing my life forever. And I really didn't like thinking about that. I would be taking walks in my backyard. I started walking in my backyard because I was too embarrassed to walk in public at the size that I was at. I'd walk in my backyard and be thinking, I have to do this for the rest of my life? That sounds horrible. I have to walk for the rest of my life? I can't have 3 donuts at a time again for the rest of my life? And I had to come to terms with the fact that I truly wanted to change my life. I did not just want to change my body. I did not just want to change the number on the scale. I didn't just want to change the size of my pants. I wanted to change my life. And in order to do that, your daily habits have to look different. If you want your life to look different, it all comes back to what you do every day. And so accepting that this is truly, the changes that I'm making are for life. They are not just until I reach my goal or until I reach a certain size or a certain number on the scale. These habit changes are for life because this is the future that I want for myself. And then lastly, one more mindset shift that is so important is accepting that motivation is fleeting. It's an emotion and it can't be relied on. I have people ask me all the time, like, how do you stay motivated? And my answer is, I don't stay motivated, but I do it anyway. There are so many things in life that we are not going to be motivated to do. I have never once felt motivated to pay my taxes, ever. I don't want to do it. But it's necessary and it's important and it's part of being in a society. I've never really felt super enthused to brush my teeth or take a shower. Depending on the type of job that you have. If you have a job that you're not passionate about, you might not feel so excited to go to work, but you do it because you need to do it. That's part of life. That's part of, it's good for you to go to work and to make money so that you can live and have the things that you need. It's good for you to brush your teeth and to shower and to do chores that are making your life easier in other ways. So sometimes we have to do stuff that we don't want to do because it's good for us, because it benefits us in the long term. And that's what these healthy habits have been for me. I am not excited every day to go to strength training. I definitely, at the beginning, I was not excited to take a walk. There were some days that I was motivated, but for the most part, I made myself do it. And not because I was punishing myself, but because I knew that it was good for me. And sometimes you have to learn to love what's good for you. I did not make that up. Stephanie Meyer wrote that, and that is in a Twilight book. But that is a quote that I loved throughout this journey. Sometimes you have to learn to love what's good for you. I did not love walking. I did not love moving my body. I did not love eating healthy foods and trying to not have processed food. I didn't love it, but I learned to love it because it's what is good for me. So I think of motivation as something that happens to you, and discipline is something that you choose. And so you can choose discipline even when you're not feeling motivated. How did you stay motivated long-term when results were slow? This does come back to accepting that this is a lifestyle change rather than a temporary diet. And something that I really had to tell myself is that I want these healthy habits even if my weight doesn't change. And that was hard to actually believe that. Like, I was telling myself that before I actually believed it. But the truth is, I didn't just want a smaller body. I wanted a bigger life. I wanted more energy. I wanted more endurance. I wanted to be able to do more things with my body. And so I continued to remind myself that even if the scale never moved, even if when I started this journey, my highest weight was 398 pounds. When I started this journey, I was 388 pounds. If I started and I did not lose 1 pound on the scale, but I could go from walking 10 minutes at a time to 40 minutes at a time, and I could go from lifting 7-pound weights to 20-pound weights. If I could enjoy myself while I'm out with family and not lose energy, not lose endurance, that's worth it to me. So when results were slow, I reminded myself it's not just about those results. It's not just about, is my pant size changing? Is the number on the scale changing? It's, is my life changing? Has my life improved? Do I have more freedom to do things than I had before? And that is what I focused on. I love quotes. So another quote that really encouraged me throughout my journey is something that I heard Michael Bublé say at his concert. And he said, he was talking about his record sales, and he said, "I can't control the results. I can only control the integrity of my work." And that is what I clung to. If I was staying on track and doing what I planned to do, if I was following through with my healthy habits and the results weren't what I expected them to be, or weren't what I wanted them to be, or weren't coming in the amount of time that I wanted them to come in, I reminded myself, I can only control the integrity of my work. I cannot control the results. And so can I be proud of how I'm showing up? Am I proud of staying consistent, of following through, regardless of if the results are reflecting that in the way that I expected them to reflect it? Then that's what matters. And that is how, acknowledging that motivation is a feeling, that is generally how I stayed motivated when results were slow. How do you stay consistent when life gets busy or stressful? There's gonna be a time when life does get busier than when you started your journey, or something stressful comes up, something unexpected comes up, and it just comes back to priorities. So during the first year of my weight loss journey, my health journey, I came into my busy photography season. I am a photographer, and this season always overwhelmed me, even when I didn't have healthy habits that I was trying to implement. And so I knew that it was going to be even more challenging having this new lifestyle. Yes, this lifestyle gave me more energy and endurance. However, it did also take more time to prepare healthy meals instead of driving through fast food, and make sure there was time in my schedule to get movement in. And so I got to the point where I was like, something's got to give. And at that point, I was strength training and doing some kind of cardio. Strength training, and then either walking, swimming, playing pickleball. And so as my work schedule got busier, I let go of strength training. And it's not what I wanted to do. It's not ideal. And maybe that's not the thing that you would let go of if you had to let go of something when your schedule gets busy. But that's what I chose to do. So I stayed consistent with my walking. I still played pickleball. I made sure that I was moving in some way every day. And I just stopped strength training for a couple months while I was in this busy season. And then I picked it back up again once the season was over. So there are going to be times where it's hard to stay consistent when your schedule changes, when you're busy, when something stressful happens, and it just comes back to priorities and saying, what am I going to make a priority? What can I take out of my schedule? What do I absolutely need to keep in my schedule? And remembering that healthy habits are benefiting you in so many more ways than just physical. So if I were to take out all of my healthy habits when that busy schedule happened, that actually wouldn't have helped me long term. I would have probably ended up feeling more stressful, not taking walks regularly and not eating nutritious foods regularly. So your healthy habits are actually going to be what helps you sustain yourself, your emotional health, your mental health during those busy and stressful times. How did you learn to love yourself during the process, not just at the end? So I didn't learn to love myself during the process. I loved myself before I started, and that's why I started. You cannot hate or shame yourself into a body that you love. I started these healthy habits and I started changing my life because I love myself. And I loved myself before. I just wasn't acting on it. I wasn't behaving as if I loved myself. I do believe that I had that love for myself, but my actions just didn't reflect it. And so the difference that I made was having my actions reflect the love that I already had for myself. I knew that I was worthy. I knew that I had value, even at my bigger size. My worth, your worth, is inherent. That's not something that we have to earn. That's not something we earn by a certain body size or even by certain habits or by a job or by having the perfect spouse or the dream house. Like, your worth is inherent. It's already in you. And you have to believe that. Believe that you are worthy of love. And it's that love for yourself that can move you towards lasting change. You have to love yourself in order to invest in yourself, because you have to believe that you're worth investing in, and that comes through loving yourself. So please just remember, you cannot hate yourself into a body that you love. You can't. You can only love yourself there. So remind yourself you are worthy of love, whether you are 500 pounds, whether you are 200 pounds, whether you are implementing your healthy habits, whether you are not. You have never not been worthy of love. You have never not been worthy of investing in yourself with your time, your energy, your finances, whatever it is. And also remember that it's not selfish to invest in yourself, and it's not selfish to implement healthy habits and put your health first in that way, because you being the healthiest version of yourself is actually what's helping the people in your life. If you can be the healthiest and best version of yourself, you are not only benefiting you, you are benefiting everyone around you too. This has been a lot of questions already, so we are definitely going to need to do a part 2. Thank you so much for watching and for being here to hear all of this part of my journey so far. And then I hope that you watch part 2 as well, where I will discuss even more, because there's just so many questions. So make sure that you watch that one too.